US and Israeli planes have targeted Thrawn once again. They did that early in the morning today, and they are in the midst of launching another brutal round once again. Yesterday, the aerial strikes slaughtered more than 108 children at an elementary school for girls, but Iran has continued to retaliate even after the death of their supreme leader. In fact, Iran's retaliations have only become intense. While there was a suspicion that Iranian strikes had killed and injured scores of U.S. soldiers, the Americans have for the first time today confirmed that 3 of their soldiers had been killed by the Iranians. UAE's biggest port, Jabali, was set on fire after an Iranian missile hit the facility. Iranians have also destroyed an Israeli neighborhood completely, so plenty to unpack in today's video on this rapidly developing situation. Also, in today's video, a UK journalist shuts up an Israeli terrorist from the rogue regime of war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu, so please stay tuned. The US has for the first time admitted that it had lost at least 3 soldiers in its illegal military aggression with Iran. 5 more US soldiers are believed to have sustained serious injuries. The acceptance by the Americans came amidst earlier reports that said hundreds of American troops had either been killed or injured in the barrage of Iranian missile and drone attacks targeting American facilities. I showed you yesterday the condition of the US Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. Today, Iranians set the Jebel Ali port, the UAE's biggest port in the region, on fire. There are reports of American warships stationed there, so this explains why the Iranians are targeting only certain locations of the UAE. Iranian Foreign Minister Sayed Basaraki today reportedly called his counterparts in the Arab world to assure them that Iran was not against the Arab countries, but it had to destroy American and Israeli facilities to teach them a lesson for their military transgressions. This is Sky News reporter reporting from Dubai. Yeah, it has been quite a 24 hours, and it was a very eventful night as well. The UAE has confirmed it's intercepted what they've said were hundreds of drones and missiles flying into UAE airspace, and there's been another 2 series of very loud bangs of air defense this morning. You might be able to make out behind me this rather large plume of smoke. That is Jebeli Port area, where there's a significant buildup now of American naval assets that was hit just before 2 o'clock this morning. Quite a large explosion. Now the official line is that it was debris, but it really is quite a significant plume of smoke that's still rising all these hours later above Dubai's skyline. Meanwhile, Iran has also claimed to have hit an American aircraft carrier, USS Abraham Lincoln. If this is true, then this simply shows the resolve of the Iranians. Iranians reportedly fired 4 ballistic missiles with the intention of sinking USS Abraham Lincoln. The IRGC said in a statement that the U.S. aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln was struck by 4 ballistic missiles. It warned that the land and sea will increasingly become the graveyard of the terrorist aggressors. Their words, not mine. The UAE has said that Iranian missiles have attacked a military base which was hosting French troops. But the biggest news for Iranians came from the illegal settler colony, where they claim to have completely destroyed a neighborhood. The visuals from the neighborhood looked unreal. This is what Israeli terrorists are known to, and they have been doing to Palestinians and others up until now. The Israeli regime has confirmed the death of 9 Israeli settlers in the attack, while an assessment is being made on others. A representative from the Israeli regime tried to project themselves as a victim, but he was exposed by a Channel 4 reporter from the UK. Watch this brilliant encounter and how the Israeli terrorist had to stop the Channel 4 journalist from asking his questions the moment he realized he was going to be exposed. We are aiming at military targets, but the Iranian regime is targeting our civilians, our children, our women, our elderly. But this is not only happening here in Israel. The Iranian regime is attacking the entire region. 8 countries, I repeat, 8 countries in the region were attacked by ballistic missiles of Iran. Not only Israel, Arab countries are targeted by Iranian regime missiles. And we say it very clear. We don't have any fight, any quarrel with the Iranian people. The only objective, the only quarrel, is the Iranian regime murderous attacks. This is what it's all about. Now I'll take some question, please. Sand Kamani from Channel 4 News. Kame, the Iranian regime have clearly done terrible things, particularly to their own people. But your prime minister is a wanted war criminal. You don't have the moral high ground here at all. This is a war crime. This is a war crime. Targeting civilians, targeting elderly women, killing, murdering her caregiver from the Philippines. And the Iranian regime is targeting not only us in Israel, they are targeting the entire region. What about the 100 or so schoolgirls in Iran that have been killed in a strike at This Must Stop? This must be stopped, and this is what we're trying to do. Yes. Next question, please. But what about those Iranians? Let's allow others. I am Loomis from This Is the Reality. The problem is that people like Laura Quinsberg from the BBC have allowed these rogue states to carry out their illegal acts in violation of international law with impunity. No one disputes the fact that the American and Israeli terrorists violated international law by illegally attacking Iran. But this woman called Quinsberg thought it was perfectly good and good journalism to corner a Green Party leader for calling out the illegality of this war. Now you can see how these war criminals get emboldened. We've seen what I would say is an illegal and unprovoked attack. In fact, Jeremy Bowen, the BBC's own international editor, said this is a war of choice. So we've got a defense secretary saying that diplomacy is the long runway we need. But he won't condemn Donald Trump when he attacks a country and assassinates its leader. That's the law of the jungle. That's an end to international law. And it's quite astounding that we have a prime minister that seems to be singularly incapable of standing up to Donald Trump and letting the UK stand on its own 2 feet. And I'm worried we're going to be pulled into another illegal war. But if you think these strikes were illegal and you've condemned them, what is your alternative? Well, the alternative is to listen to the Iranian people and to make sure that we're doing everything we can to foster calm in the region. To encourage Iranian regime didn't listen to its own people. It killed many of its own people who wanted a different government. So why do you think that the Iranian regime, or what's left of it this morning, would listen to Western governments when they haven't for decades? Well, this is why we need de-escalation in the region, and we're already seeing the conflict spread even wider. I don't have an easy answer on how we make peace and diplomacy and democracy in the region, but I do know that there's no example in history where you've bombed people to democracy. Putting airstrikes for regime change has never led an example where a country is better off afterwards. But you say that there should be negotiation. You should listen to the Iranian people. I would ask you again, what would your alternative be? Clearly you don't like it, but Israel and America made the calculation. It seems it's very clear if what it took was strikes to end a repressive regime, it was worth it. So what would your alternative be? Well, I don't accept the presupposition of the question. I don't think it took strikes because actually Iran were already at the negotiating table under President Obama. We saw progress with Iran. Donald Trump took them to the negotiation table, but it was clear it was totally bad faith because they literally murdered the leader at the same time they're at the negotiation table. Iranians have also set an oil tanker on fire. Meanwhile, the Strait of Hormuz remains shut for the 2nd day in a row. The news of the Iranian Supreme Leader's assassination by Israeli and American terrorists have evoked angry reactions from the Muslim world. That's because the Supreme Leader was one of the most revered spiritual leaders for Shia Muslim world. Angry protesters tried to storm into the American diplomatic enclave in Karachi in Pakistan. 9 protesters were killed in police firing. The US has warned its embassy staff in Iraq to remain vigilant, fearing similar attacks here. Clearly, they do not want the repeat of Benghazi in Libya, which had resulted in the killing of the American ambassador to Libya along with 2 other diplomats in 2012. Meanwhile, Iran has also destroyed the Sorak desalination plant in Israel. The destruction of this plant is huge because it was a lifeline for Israelis, and the action is being deemed as quite a breathtaking development. Israeli journalist Alan Misrai wrote on Twitter, and I quote, "This looks legit and a serious infrastructure hit if true. Sharik also has a nuclear plant," end quote. It's mind-boggling what Iran has achieved militarily in multiple countries without any air power or nuclear power. I don't know who advised them to not achieve nuclear weapons. Hope they do not come to regret this decision. That's it from me. I shall be back with more updates on this rapidly developing situation. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism.